Welcome to Saudi Life Unpacked. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Lily. We are here to demystify the desert and explore the vibrant and dynamic experiences of expats living in the kingdom.
So today on Saudi Life Unpacked, we have a very different style episode. We have my husband. So my first thing I want to just say quickly is, do you think this is going to be the most downloaded episode?
I hope so. It's either going to go one way or the other. It's going to be great or bad.
I feel like we're the Peter Crouch and Abby Crouch of Saudi Arabia. Do you feel that? Their episodes are like so good and
Yeah,
we're going to go viral.
I've got the height, kind of.
You've got the height.
Maybe not the charisma. We'll find out.
So obviously I'm Frankie. We're the Brits of the duo of Saudi Life Unpacked. So we wanted to do an episode on having a chat with you about what it was like, if you can remember all those years ago, for us as a married couple moving to Saudi. So take it back. Do you remember, like, what brought us here? Let's tell everyone our history. So what brought you to Saudi Arabia? Let's start with that.
Okay, so it was, I think, late 2017 when we just got married. I was on a project in Dubai that was, it was very challenging. I wasn't happy. And I was actually, at the time, if you remember, probably thinking of leaving maybe the company that I was working for because they didn't have a lot else for me to go on. And an email came in from my country head at the time saying there's this opportunity to go work in Saudi Arabia with our regional director, and please apply if you're interested. At the time, I jumped at it without even talking to you, I think, if I remember.
Imagine. He didn't tell me. So you went for it?
Yeah, well, I applied. Out of 250 people, apparently only 4 responded. Because at the time, Dubai was doing pretty well. It was a good place to be. But because I was on this bad project, I went for it. And thankfully, I was selected out of the 4 that responded.
Did you know anything about Saudi?
No, not at all. Didn't do any research. Just knew it was a place that it was at the start of the transformation. I was hearing a few things just through the office saying there's some major projects going to be happening over there, but I wasn't involved with it at all. So I wasn't really too sure about what I was getting myself into.
Just in context as well, this is how we did Dubai, right?
Yeah, it's very much how we did Dubai.
Did any research. We were like, we're just gonna go.
So I made a decision, went for it, was selected, thankfully. And, I think that was in probably the October, November of 2017.
Yeah.
And then in the January 2018, I was on a plane doing a fly in, fly out, remote working gig from Dubai into Saudi, staying in a hotel, flying back on a Thursday night, getting up very early on a Sunday morning. And that was how we first entered into Saudi. Whilst I was there, I was put onto one of the PIF projects, early stages, and I was sort of getting exposed to seeing what was going to start to happen in Saudi. And it was super exciting. With my industry at the time being in the construction industry, I was just coming home most weekends after being tired saying, we've got to have a look at this properly. Obviously quite early on into my time there, we found out we were pregnant with MJ, our eldest. Yeah. So we made a decision I would keep doing the remote fly in, fly out whilst, you were pregnant. I'd come back to Dubai when MJ was born. We'd spend sort of 3 months finding ourselves as new parents. And I agreed with the company that I was working for at the time that come January 2019, I think I've got the years right here. Yeah. January 2019, we would relocate full time as a family to Saudi.
Did they put pressure on that? I can't remember.
No, I actually somewhat instigated it. It was double handed. I could see what was happening. So I knew it was going to be good for my career, and us as a family. But equally, it was at the time where still Saudi was a little bit untapped or very untapped. So I knew that they needed people, talent to go over to Saudi. So I put my hand up, said I'll move full time. It worked well for me. It worked well for the company because they were reducing some of their costs by flying me in and paying for the accommodation and these things. So all in all, it was positive for both parties.
I feel like you did a presentation.
Yeah, I worked on a deck and I basically made a business case to say why I
You should have done it for
go.
Me as well.
Yeah, I should have done, to be fair. But we agreed together.
But I don't actually, so again, taking it back. So you were flying in and out from Dubai. Yes. You saw a very different Saudi then. So that this would have been 2017, 2018, 2019. Yep. It wouldn't have been an easy thing to think, right, I'm going to move my newborn and my new wife to Riyadh, knowing what you were seeing here at that time. Like when we first moved here, women and men were in separate entrances in restaurants. I couldn't drive as a female. There was some very different ways back then. Mm-hmm. So what gave you that confidence to be like, no, this is where we all need to be?
Well, I think, I was looking at very much around what was right for us long term as a family, but equally because of, yes, you were a new wife. We've been together for a long time. Obviously, we were going through the transformation of having a new kid, which was pretty interesting at the time. It sort of put a lot of pressure on things. But I think because we are a team, we always go back to that. I just knew we would get through it. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, just because moving country, new baby, just various different aspects of relocating to a country like Saudi. It put a lot of challenges on things. But I knew, just because of the people we are, that we would get through it. And ultimately, I could see what was happening long term down the road. I didn't know it was going to get as good as it has, but I knew it would be a place where we could raise a family, do well professionally, get everything that we want as parents and as husband and wife. But yeah, it's turned out so much better than I think we could ever have imagined, really, isn't it?
But do you think, take it back again, like when we did 3 months apart, didn't we? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because
all of the Ikama stuff.
Yeah, Ikama stuff. So a lot of, obviously, our audience with Saudi Life Unpacked is people moving over, and they will be in that position. Granted, a lot easier probably actually than when we did it, because this was so long ago.
Yep.
But there is an interim of wife and husband being apart and families being apart, and whether you're in Dubai or you're in the UK or in Australia, wherever you are. Take it back to that point again. Did you still know it was worth it? What was the emotions then?
Well, no, there were some really tough times.
I remember he was like, I think this is the closest we've ever been to getting divorced. And we were literally married like 4 months.
Well, not even divorced, just separated as a whole. Like we've been together for a number of years, before we got married, obviously, but it was a massive pressure on us. Obviously, things are more fluid in terms of transitions into kingdom now than they were those years ago. The only thing I would give people advice on is do your homework on the process of, first of all, getting whoever's the sponsor coming over here with the employment, find out the durations and the process to get that person's Ikama. But then equally, when you're having those conversations, is have frank and open conversations with HR or whoever it is that you're dealing with on the process of getting your family in. There's just small things. It's quite commonly known now, but we didn't know anything about getting the marriage certificates attested and we got married in Sri Lanka. So
do you remember me marching to the embassy
Piccadilly
in
Circus
London?
Or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then there was a visa agent down the road, and you were freaking out, and you were like, right, I just need to get you in. I was with a new baby. My auntie came into London with me, and we were just frazzled.
But that just goes back to knowing the process. If we, at the time, we didn't have any of this mapped out for us, and, lessons learned, I would have put a bit more pressure on my employer at the time, but that's by the by. But just know the process, because at least when you know the process, you can plan for it. You know that it's going to take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it may be. But just find that out, because there's administration side, there's a process side, then there's just the sort of the formalities, flights, everything like that. But the only thing I'll say now, just to reassure people, is it's a lot easier to get access into the kingdom now, just with tourist visas, visit visas, than it was when we obviously did the transition. There was no online application or visa on arrival. So all these things have come into place over the last 7-8 years, which makes things a lot easier. So even if you are going through a formal Ikama process for you and your family, you can still get the quick entry if you're feeling like you need to get together quickly.
Yeah, and we did. And then when we were together, it was fine. I just think in those 3 months, we just didn't. And also, at the time, it wasn't the most desirable move, so it was tricky to drum up the energy. Whereas now I feel like there's so much more excitement about moving to Saudi, and people really want to get in.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I mean, kingdom wide is a whole different story, but even Riyadh as a city has come on so far. I remember one of the big turning points. I can't remember what year it was. I think it was just pre-COVID, where I would say things were getting to a point where life was like, it's actually pretty good being here. There was a concert on down in the Riyadh before it even started getting built. And I think we saw, was it Akon,
Usher,
Chris Brown and Usher all in one night, all on one stage.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, this is great. It's 20 minutes from our house. Yeah. We've got all these world-class artists coming to Riyadh. And I was thinking, this is fantastic.
This is amazing. Yeah.
Obviously COVID put a halt to a lot of that, as it did anywhere in the world. But I think in a way it accelerated everything. I think COVID, I don't know if this was just by coincidence, but the amount of progress that was made in Saudi quietly during COVID, so almost like when lockdowns lifted globally and things were going back to normal, Saudi it was fantastic, wasn't it? It just everything started happening. So
let's talk about that, because obviously we never could have envisaged. And my next question was going to be, did you think it would be a long-term move or a short-term move? Obviously now, the way Saudi is, like I voice noted you yesterday, didn't I? Just saying, I pinch myself most days at how lucky we are to be here. I was walking with a friend having a matcha around the Wadi, and we live in this beautiful compound, and we've got a really happy, stable life here. Yeah. take me back 7 years. So we've been here, you're 8 years.
Well, I'm 8 years in January. Yeah. And you're 7 years in April. Yeah.
Never would have seen the day or felt that was going to be my reality.
It was a tough one because professionally, I could always see it because the amount of stuff at that time that was bubbling under the surface, I was getting, you know, just enough insights to go, this is going to be fantastic. We have to see this through. But personally and relationship wise, it was really tough. Like even little things like going out for dinner, it wasn't the same.
Do you remember that dinner date we did?
It was in Tokyo on the Northern Ring Road, wasn't it? We were like, right, we've got a nanny, kid's going to stay in. We'll go out for a nice dinner, try and reconnect. And, you know, just because of the way it was at the time, we got there and it was,
there was no music.
There's no music, no ambience, separate entrances again. Everything was quite privatized. So you couldn't even see other sort of, you know, just seeing the restaurant, people watching.
None of it.
And I think we just sat there. We didn't even talk to each other. We just looked at each other, both thinking probably, what are we doing? Had a bit of sushi and then went home, didn't we? That was our big night out. Yeah.
But now again, like, do you remember when we went to Monkey House?
Yeah.
And they had all the sparklers and we were sitting there again being like, what? There's a live DJ and there's music and there's fires.
Yeah, that was post-COVID.
Yeah.
This was all sort of quite early on.
Yeah.
And this is what I was saying. It just accelerated over that sort of 2020, 2021 period, didn't it? To the point where, you know, hospitality just became global. It just became like you could be anywhere else in the world. And that's what it is today. And I think we're seeing that with every major event, you know, all these amazing restaurants, places to go.
So you'd say COVID was your turning point of like, this has longevity?
Well, not during COVID.
No.
COVID, you know, globally was tough for every single person. But, you know, we actually had our second child during COVID. She was born in October 2020. And, you know, just when you're craving like family support and just a bit of normality and just being able to go out with a newborn, you know, just want to go outside with a newborn baby sometimes, don't you? Especially in October when the weather's good. Couldn't do any of it. No. So COVID was tough naturally, but we got through that. I mean, that just seems like a whole strange phase of life, but we got through it. But I feel like coming out the other side, it's almost like the switch just got turned on and Riyadh became a global like, hub and just incredible city.
And I remember every year being like, right, our kids aren't going to go to nursery here. Then no, our kids are not going to go to school here. And now we're like, they're not going to go to high school here. And then that's always been my like, oh, hang on, we are actually
Well, when did it switch for you then? Because I'm always a long-term like mindset person anyway. Well, I go in 5-year cycles.
Yeah, you do.
I go in 5-year cycles.
Yeah, that's when you get an itch.
But when did you, I think it was probably about 2 years ago for you, wasn't it? 3 years ago, maybe a bit more?
Mine was, again, I think it's difficult for me because I also was in a new mum bubble for a long time. So I don't know if a part of the negativity around being here was being a new mum or whether it was the way Saudi was and how it feels now. Because now I feel like I'm starting to get a bit of me back now the kids are older. But is that also because Saudi's just getting so good for me now? Like I can...
Well, I looked at, just from an outside in, I looked at it the other way. I think being a new mum actually was what kept you here because you met so many people through being a mum. You know, you've got so many Saudi friends, you've got so many expatriate friends. And I actually think that that's what, in a way, kept you sane. Because if it was just left with me, we'd be doomed. We were just joking earlier at breakfast. Zero emotional intelligence.
By the way, this guy's got nothing. He's got nothing. You're doing really well with the podcast because you know, there's a bit of something to you, but he's honestly got no emotion, this man.
Well, no, I just look at things very black and white.
You're black and white. Yeah. But, so this is actually really interesting because on Thursday night, it's now the weekend, I celebrated my 7th and 5th children.
I did hard work.
7th and 5th children with the ones that we grew
7th and 5-year-olds.
Yeah, birthdays with the women that I first had those kids with the first round.
And they were all born about the same time, weren't they? Or the eldest anyway.
So Alia and Rima, we met and we were just having such nostalgia. And we said compounds is what kept us going. So even though Alia's Saudi, we would always have a play date every single day. MJ's first steps were in California Compound Soft Play. Yeah. Like we would meet every single day and there was about 10 of us and we'd all have the kids together. And I see it now with the mums and you're so right. Like it's such a big part of being here.
And I think the fact that you're still friends with these guys is like testament to how important it is to actually build a community. And that's why I think what you're doing is so, it resonates so big, so well with so many people because it's needed. We leave our families, you need the community, you need the connection. And I think ultimately that's what's kept you sane and us here.
Yeah. So what would you say would be a big piece of advice to someone, a husband now who's trying to move his wife over, or a wife who's listening that's going to send this to the husband and say, this is where we're at this stage. What would your advice be?
So assuming that they're newly moved to Saudi, the normal process is, and I'm not just saying this is husbands, because it could be sometimes the wives as well, but whoever moves to Saudi first, obviously gets set up.
And is that still has to happen, right? Or could someone come in on a tourist visa?
They could, but I would just advise that anyway, especially if you've got small family, small kids, unless you're doing it through like a school holiday. But just because moving anywhere is tough, finding somewhere to live is not easy. I would just say, don't do that with the kids. If you've got kids, obviously I'm talking on the basis that you've got a young family like we have, but come get yourself set up. My essential piece of advice is if you're a young family or a family with kids, I would say you have to move into a compound.
Do you think that?
Yeah.
Because we talk about this a lot.
No, I do. I'm a big believer in it even still. Yes, all right, you're going to pay a premium, but for me, it's an investment into being here. Because when whoever it is working leaves the front door and they're doing, it's a hard place to come and work. It's very demanding. Expectations are very high. If you're doing these 10-hour, 12-hour days, you've got to have people around your partner and the kids.
Happy wife, happy life.
Happy wife, happy life every time. So I would say compound is essential. See it as an investment for longevity. Obviously, you've got to do your own numbers and calculations and spreadsheets, which is a bit more my side of what we do. I would say try and build that, listen to things like this, build a community as quick as you can, get a nanny.
Chanel, we love you. Don't we just?
One of the big things that I think with being an expatriate family, without having your direct family next to you, is you've got to try and make your life as easy as possible. And I probably say this more seriously now than I ever have done. I find it hard that we would be together if we didn't have a nanny. Honestly, it keeps us together.
No, do you? I actually agree.
I'm not even joking.
I do really agree. I don't know
it takes the pressure off so much. And
all the blue jobs and the pink jobs.
Well, it's not even that. We're not really that, we've been in the Middle East now for quite some time and we're not really that domesticated in terms of people, are we? We like things being taken care of for us so we can actually enjoy the better things of life. So I would highly advise getting that, even if it's just for the help at home. Start with the core, but then obviously over time, build trust, build a relationship with someone to live with you and look after your kids. But then just having the house stuff done, coming home, we're not at each other. Why isn't this done?
This is the thing, right?
I didn't want to say that. And I actually get food that's edible, served to me at home. So
I went on holiday and Michael was literally so cross because the food I was serving up for him.
Whenever our nanny travels, like the F&B revenues in Saudi goes up because I just eat out every night because I can't come home and have the cooking.
Outrageous.
But I mean, I can't remember if that answered the question, but they would be the
compound,
the go-to,
and the go-to. So your two settling in tips, big for families going in, would be get yourself in come alone and set yourself up.
Come alone, get in a compound, get a nanny, and I would also say maybe as a fourth, have a series of things to do, like know where to go. So when you get there, like your first weekend, you're doing X, Y, Z, you're going.
Which is where SLU concierge could come in handy.
Which is where the concierge, because I didn't even tee that up either. Let's go. Again, a short period after settling in, go for a little staycation somewhere. Our favourite place in Saudi by far is Alula. It's amazing. It's fantastic. It's so special. So just have a few things that you can look forward to as well. So you're not always focused on the now. You've actually got a plan to disconnect, go, right, in 3 weeks we're going here, or 4 weeks we've got this.
And do you know what my fifth would be? Mindset. Come with the right mindset, because there's a really lovely lady that we met recently actually called Danielle, who's come over and she's the epitome. Like I said, how are you getting on? And she said something like grateful or wonderful, or like she said such the right words for like her first week of being here. And I thought so many people come in and they say, this so hard and it's so difficult. And yes, there are really difficult things, and yes, it's trickery in so many ways. But if you come in the right brain power and the positivity and what you can do and see and be around, the journey is going to be much easier for you, right?
I think from my perspective, it's even bigger than that. That's certainly a massive part of it, but that's more about the immediate to now. But Saudi for me is a place where you basically get out what you put in. And for me, it compounds here over time. So if you truly dedicate yourself to this place, and you treat it with the respect and the effort and actually go on the journey that the kingdom's on, it can open up so much for you, not just professionally, but personally as well. Think of the people we've met, the experiences we've had, even the growth that we've had, again, outside of work. Our kids are happy, they're safe, they're always doing things. We get to travel so much. And I just think if you put in and respect this place, it will give you so much more than you can ever imagine. And that's why we keep not being able to leave ever.
Not being able to leave.
I think we're here certainly for a long time ahead.
So with that in mind, what is your kind of, again, tip or go-to for settling into work here?
Don't expect to change the world in a short period of time. Again, I'm speaking from an expatriate point of view here. We're brought in to bring experience, skill sets to contribute to a bigger picture and vision. You have to just understand there's certain ways of working. My advice initially would be, before going into any meeting or any sort of one-on-one to talk about business, talk about the people first. People and trust goes a huge way, more than anything here, more than capability, in my opinion. The more people trust you, the more they'll then listen and actually take your expertise and your recommendations on board. So always go for that coffee, talk about family, get to know people, what's their background, where have they traveled to, where did they go to school? Because a lot of Saudi nationals, especially who I work with, have studied internationally, so you might have some connections organically there. It's so important to get to know the people before doing business.
That's interesting.
That's my biggest piece of advice here.
But and also positivity on Saudi, right? I find that goes a long way. If you're like, we love being here, we're really happy to be here, we're really proud to be here. Saudis take that so well.
They do. That doesn't really come up too much in the work environment, to be honest. It will if you get to know the people. I remember probably in the first 6 months, I was invited to someone's house to go for a traditional Saudi kabsa dinner, and you really meet the family. You sit, talk. It's very old school, to be honest, but it's really nice because you start seeing behind just the corporate veil, and you see what people live like, and yeah, it's really interesting to me. So the other thing is as well, respect the ways of working here. It's more governed than most places that I've ever worked before Saudi, but you have to learn to work with those types of procedures and processes rather than work against them. So by the time you've built the trust, understood how the organization works, then you can really start adding value. But it's not going to happen overnight. I would say tell people, or I would advise people that it's a year's journey for you to really bed in at work. But then again, going back to the compounding aspect, if you can get your feet under the table, be trusted, build that professional network within the company and outside the company, again, it can give you back so much more than I think most places on earth, to be honest. And
obviously there's no way that this isn't like, I suppose, common knowledge with working here. There's a lot of frustrations, right? So what would you say to people in that coping mechanism, whether it's inside of work or outside of work? Because you are a real routine man. Anyone listening, my husband is the most routine person ever. So is it that you kind of channel yourself by doing your morning routine and go into work with the right headspace, or like what's your, again, like?
I think everyone's different. For me, that works, but I would just say in the moment, don't just understand this isn't a you and whoever it is you're dealing with problem. It's institutional. It's a bigger mindset. So just realize there's a whole,
it's not personal.
There's a whole bigger thing going on that takes time to understand and learn. So don't feel like this is something that you haven't been able to be successful in or you haven't been able to influence. Just take it by the by, keep doing the right thing, be patient, keep building those relationships, and ultimately everything will just start falling into place.
You'll find your feet.
And then if you've got personal things that can help you, whether it's exercise, early mornings, routine, whatever it may be.
I'm surprised you haven't brought up now that you've ran 10K this weekend. Because honestly,
it's so normal now,
he's put it in WhatsApp groups. He's just telling everyone that what's past us. Like, this is a podcast. This is your time to shine, babe.
When you're hitting personal bests, week in and week out, you have to let people know about these things, don't you? Going on holiday recently to the Maldives, I did become the local legend on Strava because I ran the furthest out of anyone in 3 months, even if I was the only one running.
No, but honestly, and lots of people say to me in our friendship group, God, Michael's a bit different. Like, he's got this different energy around the way he works here and the way he is here. So I think people will be interested to kind of understand the Michael Hilton.
Well, I'm surprised because I don't really socialise with anyone that much. So for them to get to know me and sort of understand me, I don't know. Look, I remember it's the end of 2019 and I started to do a lot of, don't want to sound all sort of kumbaya and hippie here, but
I love it.
I was doing a lot of like sort of just self-educating. My favorite book, and I would recommend anyone to read it, and partly this comes down to the early morning thing. Mm-hmm. My favorite book ever is the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. That really did change my life.
Yeah, it did.
In a way that I couldn't have realised. But we did there was a lot more happening around that as well, wasn't there?
We've got Lily in front of us.
Lily's waving it behind us in the background. How good is it?
It's so good. There we go.
This is it. I owe a lot to this book. So Robin, thank you if you ever watch this. That book changed my mindset. I'm a very sort of forward-thinking person. I am a big believer in routine and structure. I think just health in general, both physically, but then for me in turn mentally comes with that, even though I don't, as you know, practice too much around the sort of the mindset element of it. But I'm a very future forward-thinking person. You know, I like to plan. As I said, I go in these 5-year cycles. I think it's really healthy to...
When's the next itch? Are we in it now?
Possibly. I'm making these crazy decisions about a few things at the minute.
Yeah.
But then the most important thing as well as a couple, going back to that team thing, is you've got to communicate what's on your mind and what these 5-year plans are or what the next phase is, because you're only going to be as successful in implementing that if you go on it together. There's no point one of us going that way, the other one, or staying where we are and moving that way. So yeah, be adventurous, take risks, just go on an adventure, go on a journey. And it is
an adventure. Like Saudi,
100%.
That's the best way to explain it, isn't it? It's such an adventure. And again, like we are a bit like hippie with that, but it's all about the gratitude. Like there's not one day we don't wake up and feel so grateful that this opportunity is here for us. And the flip side of that is we got on the plane. We do it every time. And we are a team in that. I trust you and you trust me. And we just say, right, let's just do it and let's see what happens.
You've got to make it work as well. And I think that's, it's very easily said, but it's a big thing moving. Once you've made that decision, once you've got on that plane, you just have to make it work. Cause, going back to what it was like when we first moved here again, it was so hard. Even I remember trying to get my driving license. It took ages just because I didn't understand the process. And you'd arrive somewhere, so I wouldn't speak English, which again is not Saudi's problem. It's my problem, but no one tells you that. So it's just the banks and then, XYZ, but now everything's so straightforward. But just get through those sticking points. The first 6 months of anyone moving is always going to be tough.
You always say like the first 6 months of Dubai. So we were in Dubai before, and we were 5 years Dubai and then 6, 7, 8 years here. Every 6 months, you're like, you're not going to survive it to me because I get so stressed out. I always pull
not
through.
Anymore. Yeah, no. Early stages. But it was tough in Dubai as well, wasn't it? Do you remember?
It was, yeah. So let's talk about you being a dad here. So how does that feel for you having children here? Because obviously a lot of people do come over with their kids. Talk to us about the experience of Mika was born here. And do you feel like this is a good place to raise your children or our children? I keep saying yours and ours.
Teamwork, babe.
The team children, the Hiltons. What's your feelings on that?
So first and foremost, I think having young kids here, I'll caveat, I can only talk about our experience because our kids are young, is amazing. I feel like you do actually get a good work-life balance. Of course, there's those times where you might have to work late or you get a call at something on the weekends, but it's very rare, to be fair, because again, going back to that, going to people's houses, family life, it's big here in Saudi. People really respect that. So I feel like you actually get to spend more time here with your family than you would versus, say, London. Work might be a little bit more flexible, but when you account for the tubes, the late nights that you can do there, and then you get the weather, the dark mornings, dark evenings. I feel like the time you spend here is more quality driven. I love the weekends. There's so much to do. We first of all, we've got the clubs. Obviously yesterday I took MJ to football, elite sports, and then Mika goes horse riding at Medal stables. Then I always come back and have a boys' breakfast with MJ whilst you're at the horses, have a kickabout. Actually went for a bike ride yesterday. There's just so much to do. And I think what it all boils down to is for, I would say 9 months of the year, you can be outside like comfortably. It's obviously very hot over the summer, but I'm a big believer in being outdoors, especially in this day and age. And I just love the fact, no matter where you go on the compound or any compound, you just see kids everywhere, bikes, climbing, football, just tennis. There's just something going on everywhere. And I just think, again, especially coming from maybe the UK where it's cold, it's wet, it's not as comfortable just going outside. So a lot of kids are indoors, they're on screens, they get sort of bogged down. And I'm a big believer in building up like interpersonal skills. So meeting people, being able to introduce yourself, hold a conversation, connect. Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about compound life. I mean, the school is fantastic. You know, so many nationalities go to the international schools here. You know, they learn Arabic here, they learn French. They're with kids from all over the world. And I was at a school parade thing the other day, and it was International Day, so all the kids...
He's been to one, guys. Don't think that this is a regular, because that makes it sound like you go to all the parades. I bullied you into
every
that
parade,
one.
All right. But the one I was at, and you weren't, all the kids were wearing outfits from where they're from. So
I was Harry Potter.
Yeah, I was with Harry Potter. It was sort of last minute.
Yeah.
Kind of forgot about that one, didn't we? Let's be honest. But it was just, you know, that just teaches them so much more than a lot of just traditional schooling. So as a whole, I love having young kids here. I feel like you get quality time with them, and I just think it's a great lifestyle. Great lifestyle, very fit, active, and, you know, opens your mind. In terms of having Mika here, I think compared to what it was like having MJ, because MJ was
he was born in Dubai.
He was born in Dubai, and it, you know, I think you went into that. Well, we both did rose tinted glasses, first baby, like all, chaos. What was it, water birth, or what was
that's
it?
a podcast for another day. That's traumatic. Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to relive that one then. But then the experience here with Mika was if I'm allowed to say, a planned C-section. We went to Kingdom Hospital, had a really great experience there. Yeah, we turned up to the hospital, C-section. You get wheeled one way, I get sort of, you put onto a bed and you get taken off that way. And they said they were going to go and do the preparation
Dr.
work.
Khalifa, yeah.
I had to go get my scrubs on. You sort of meet in the operating theatre. And if I remember, Kingdom's one of the only hospitals, I don't know about what's happening now, in Riyadh certainly, where the husband can join the procedure in the room. And it just went so smoothly, didn't it? You walk in, 15 minutes later, you have a baby, and it was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was so smooth, and also you go home to a nanny.
You go home to a nanny.
So again, like just very different.
The only thing I remember here that I didn't even know was a thing, and it's just maybe put it on people's radars, is they do the newborn nursery.
Yeah,
where they actually put the kid away from you,
which was amazing.
Yeah, but I didn't even know that was a thing. So you kind of like, you know, with MJ, he was with us 24/7, wasn't he? You're just like holding this newborn baby. I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing, but it sounds like it was a good thing for you. You get that respite. You can actually just like take your time as well.
Yeah, I could heal.
You know, obviously you can go and see through the glass, obviously Mika laying there, but that was a bit of a thing that just maybe put on someone's radar that I didn't even know was gonna, and then they just sort of pick your kid up and take it away.
You're like, see ya.
For a few hours whilst you all rest. But all in all, I mean.
Well, whilst we all rest.
Yeah. I remember bringing MJ in to see Mika. You know, you get, I suppose a big thing here as well is make sure that you get a good medical coverage with whoever you're employed with, when you're over here, especially for things like having a child. It's basically private healthcare. We had our own huge suite, you know, loads of room, private.
That's great.
So we brought MJ in, and, you know, he could play over there while seeing Mika over here. And it was just a, take nothing away from Dubai, because Dubai is very similar in that regards, but just in terms of the experience we had, which was very much, I would say, procedurally driven, it was a very nice experience having Mika here, yeah. I would also just say just be the process of naming your child, getting I forget what they call it. You basically get the certificate to say that obviously the child was born, time, name in the hospital, but in the hospital they will write your son or daughter's name as, for example, Mika bin Michael Hilton, right? So you get
Isn't Abu dad?
No, Abu MJ, I'm father of MJ, father of Mika, but they write so it's always the kid's name and then of the father's name. So it was Mika Rose of Michael Hilton. So you get given this piece of paper and you sort of do your translate on it, you're like, no, this isn't my kid's name. And they look at you like, no, this is your kid's name. So you then have to go through all of that, and then when you take that...
Do you remember MJ there's no J in Arabic?
Well, no, MJ, because his name is literally MJ on his passport, they couldn't do a translation at the time in Dubai. So they were just like, they had to write it. And I just pushed back, like, no, just figure it out. So that was MJ. But then here, once you get that birth certificate, and then you have to go and get the translations done by a lawyer. When you go to the translation center to get the actual birth certificate, I remember the gentleman that worked there at the time, I was saying, please write Mika Rose Valerie Hilton. And he just turned the keyboard around to me and I typed in Mika Rose Valerie Hilton. So her birth certificate was actually typed by me. I'm not saying that's the standard process for everyone here, but I just want to reassure people, when you get the birth certificate from the hospital, don't worry, your child isn't called of Michael Hilton in my case, even though I quite like that. I wanted to keep it. You get the opportunity to then go to a translation centre, and I forget I think it's the Ministry of Interiors or something, I can't remember now.
Yeah, all the admin.
They do the birth certificate in the proper way.
Yeah.
So sorry, went back on. Yeah.
So last question. So you talk about the 5-year itches and the 5-year cycles. So what do you see for us in the next 5 years as husband and wife and as parents and career? Like, what is your next 5 years going to look like, Michael Hilton?
Well, it's certainly in Saudi. We know that for a fact, as long as people want us around, I guess. As a couple, I kind of just wanted to say as it is. No, everything's so good, isn't it? Obviously, the kids are going to be going through a lot of change. MJ's 7, so 5 years' time, he's going to be scratching on teenager. I think that naturally is going to be quite a big milestone for us, understanding what potentially Saudi can offer us as a new chapter with a teenage kid, both from schooling, social life. Those connections are very important. I think for us, hopefully, more travel.
You travel a lot.
I travel. I'm actually off to Singapore in 2 hours.
Yeah.
But no, I mean us as a couple. Yeah, more holidays, more experiences, just more memories. But I think, in Saudi, I just want it to stay as is. I don't want anything to change.
Vision 2030, excited for that wave? Or
yeah, I mean, of course. There's going to be so much happening. Just speak of Riyadh, let alone the kingdom. There's just so much going to come online in the next 2 or 3 years. Diriyah is going to be opening up massively. You've got obviously Sports Boulevard that's coming live, and it's got so much to do. More events, this week I've been at the WTA finals. You're actually going to the final later today. Unfortunately, I can't go because I'm traveling, but there's just so much to do here. Yeah. I've been to almost every boxing match over the last 2 or 3 years, seen some incredible things. I don't know. I just think it's going to continue to get better. And
it's like the standard question. Would you move back to Dubai? Do you miss Dubai? Like, I feel like Riyadh's now got that buzz of where we want to be and how Dubai felt all those years ago.
Yeah, look, I mean, it would take so much to move me away from here in every aspect, professionally, family, personal,
Sometimes you say you'd happily go back to England. I'm like, you're lying.
Well, it's not just go back to England. Sometimes because professionally things, get quite a lot at times, of course. I just want a simple life sometimes.
Yeah.
I want to,
you just want to live in Norfolk,
downsize.
Quiet,
I say I want to go and mow the grass.
I know,
I want to cut the grass.
I'm not going to join you.
It's simple. You just walk up and down, no distractions, no other parties involved, and you can just complete a task and you just look back and go, oh, my grass looks nice and I did that. It's super simple.
Okay.
But I know after cutting the grass probably 2 times, 3 times.
And I've seen you cutting the grass. So there's no...
Yeah, but I cut the grass in England when I don't even need to cut the grass.
Yeah, but it's not a good job, babe.
What?
No, we'll talk about
it's
this.
Like Wembley. It is. It is flat, crisp.
But again, I get it, because sometimes you just want a chilled life, right? Even our weekends are so busy. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I could just have a weekend of
I think but that's just life. It's fits and starts, right? But then there's times where, I'm about to go on a load of travel where I'll get out of my routine. So as much as things, you get good days, bad days, whatever, this breaks it up. Either way, I'm going to be very tired. I'm going to be very jet lagged. I've got a bit of self-inflicting pain as well, because from Singapore, I'm actually going to Australia for 2 days to see a friend, and then coming all the way back here.
Let's not feel bad for him.
So I am going to be out of sync for the next 7 or 8 days, 10 days, whatever it is. But equally, that has a lot of pros because it will just take me out of things.
And we're this side of the world, so you can as well.
Well, kind of in the middle, which is great. Another massive pro of living here. It's just you can go east and west so easily. But that's one for another time, I guess. But no, the fact I do travel a lot for work, for me, it's quite a good thing.
Does that take the edge off sometimes?
I wouldn't say it takes the edge off, but it allows me to connect with other people. It's tough being away from you guys, of course, but it breaks up.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing to be able to do.
So what is your closing statement? What would you like to say to anyone listening that is looking to move to Saudi or is coming here as a married couple, or what is your...
It's really easy for us to say, isn't it? Because we've been here and we're so happy.
And also, I think sometimes I don't want to be a PR machine, and I don't want us to be like, oh, everything's so amazing all the time, because obviously every marriage has its moments, and we've had some tough times in the last 7 to 8 years.
Yeah.
But as a whole, like you said, our life is so great.
Look, the only thing I would say is if you get the opportunity to come or even explore a potential position, give it everything. Go through the full process. Even if it doesn't come to anything, it'll be a lesson in some way, shape or form. But, you know, if you're successful and you go through that, I can almost guarantee you it won't be something that you regret if you go about it with the right mindset and you give as much as you expect to get back. This isn't a place that just gives. You have to earn it before it gives back. And, you know, just based on our experience and so many other people's experiences here, it can truly transform your life. You know, we're in a very fortunate position, health-wise, everything-wise, to be honest. And I do believe so much of that has been come from our decisions to move initially to Dubai. Dubai was fantastic for the time we were there, our sort of mid-20s. It was perfect. It was fantastic. Yeah. Mate, again, that's not one for another podcast. But being here, what this country can give you, you know, so much time, touched on this already, so much time at home with the family, money, ability to travel, financial gains. You know, I did a LinkedIn post a little while ago about moving abroad to emerging markets, which Saudi still is an emerging market, which is a crazy thing to say considering how much goes on here. But moving to any emerging market, but in this case, Saudi, it is a career accelerator. You get considered for roles or positions or being in the rooms that you just wouldn't get to be in or be considered for anywhere part of the world, because in a place like London or New York or wherever, you're one of maybe 10,000 going for a position or in that sort of field of market. Whereas here you could be one of 100 or 1,000, whatever it may be. So just pure chance of selection is so much higher. So I would say if you get the opportunity, really do look into it firstly. Do your homework always, because there are just some considerations moving to any country, but here that you just need to be aware of. But then go for it.
Give it your all.
It's amazing. Blue sky, green trees. There's a swimming pool right there. We're outside Lily's house.
Yeah.
There's literally a swimming pool right there. All of our kids are off playing at the moment. We're about to go have a nice lunch. Yeah, times are good. Living
our best life. Yeah. So there we go. And if anyone wants to follow you on LinkedIn, because I know LinkedIn, you are a little bit of a celebrity now.
Yeah.
Michael, yeah, he loves it. He lives for it. I think we're on par on followers on Instagram for me and you on LinkedIn.
I think I'm a little bit of a head, to be honest.
No. Michael Hilton. They just need to search you. And any questions, I'm sure you get loads. But you are available. So thank you for doing this today.
It's all right.
And we're still married, which is great because we called my mum just before this. And we were like, let's see how this podcast goes. We're doing okay.
Nah, all good fun. Thank you.